What is up? I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. It is Thursday, June 2nd, and this is Blinkers Off. What's up, man?
What's up? What's going on, everybody that's watching? Hello to everybody, and I'm excited, man. I'm back.
The first pod of June. How's it June already?
I don't know. May was a dream, I think. I don't think it actually happened.
It's weird to me. I was thinking about this because with the Belmont coming up, and of course thinking about the Derby and Rich Strike. Part of that feels like it was yesterday, and part of it feels like it was 2 years ago.
Truth on both ends. Yeah, truth on both ends. Yes. I do think back. It was like we were just at the Derby, 2 days ago. And the other part was, but did that really happen? I don't think so, right? No, yeah, I totally agree. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, we're getting old. Right there, Mark. He said it. Maybe that's the problem. Time kind of just gets away from you. But listen, it's June. We've got a great weekend this weekend, and then of course next weekend we've got maybe one of the best weekends of the year. So can't be mad about it, right?
I mean, that's the thing. You can complain about it being June, but that just means we are a little closer to the Belmont. And that means we're a little closer to Saratoga. I mean, and then from there, you might as well bitch that the Breeders' Cup will be here before you know it, because that will be what will happen next, right? Yeah. Because as soon as it's just like the Derby Trail, it goes so fast, and then you get onto the, obviously, like you said, Belmont. Undercard of the festival, there was 3 Breeders' Cup winning run races, and that really is like the changing of the guard, so to speak, because all the coverage on the Triple Crown, but obviously the Belmont happens, and then boom, it's all on Breeders' Cup, and that's really all we focus on for the next 4 months.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's just it. You said it best, man. That little meet up at Saratoga is getting close. Del Mar's getting close. Like I said, this has always been one of my favorite weekends with the Penn Mile. I have no idea why, but it always has been. and then you get the Belmont. So it's great, man. And listen, we get Rich Strike. We get the Derby winner again. And that's what I'm most excited for coming up here in June. This is going to be fun.
I tell you what, you're right. And first of all, it is weird that you like the Penn Mile so much. You also have your horse in the race. So that's a double excitement level for you. But we'll talk about that race in rapid fire coming up. But yeah, and Rich Strike, it's whatever you want to say about him, he's what you wanted in the Preakness, because he adds the intrigue of, can he do it again? What was that last time? And you kind of wonder if he wins the race, what are we talking? We talked about Epicenter as far as we thought he'd win the Preakness, and then if he goes to the Belmont and he wins the last 2 legs, what could have been? Well, heck, if Rich Strike, that story's even better. If Rich Strike goes and wins the Belmont and skipped the second leg, what could have been with that as well? So he obviously being in the race adds a ton of intrigue. And then the horse that I think the Belmont was built for, and that's Mo Donegal. I mean, he seems to fit every part of that race. He's interesting. It's not like a world-class race, but for what it is, it's a very intriguing race.
I mean, obviously you want the Preakness winner to be there, but at least you have a horse that beat the Preakness winner 2 back against the Kentucky Derby winner. So you get something, right? I mean, I don't know. That counts for something. We may have a filly in the race and Ness. That's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. I mean, we got We the People. He's interesting to some people, including myself. So I think it's kind of fun. I'm not gonna hate on it too much. I mean, it's just nice to kind of have a Derby winner back running again. It's, anytime that an upset happens at any sporting event, everybody tunes in to see if they can do it again. Well, finally, I shouldn't say finally, it's only been 5 weeks, but we're going to get to see if he can do it again. And so that's what's fun about this one. Whether you love or hate Rich Strike, him missing the Preakness was not good. It made for, at least a lead up to a boring race.
Yeah. And it just wasn't, it lost all its appeal to the outside world, just because everyone that would ask you, hey, what about that horse? It's like, well, he's not running in it. Yeah. All right. So then they don't care after that. So yeah, it's good to have him in this race. Hopefully he stays, pointing to it and everything. He did get to Belmont Park the other day. So he's there. All signs seem positive from the camp. Everyone acts like they don't regret the decision, that was the plan all along. We'll see. That obviously is going to be a big story as we get closer to that. And really, the focus of, like we kind of shifted gears with the wagering guide this year because we just thought, yes, this race, and it is appealing in itself, but this whole card, there's 9 stakes, 8 grade ones, including the Belmont Stakes. So it's a massive day of racing. And the Belmont Stakes just happens to be kind of the what everyone talks about of the outside world, but it's a huge day. So we'll be all over the card there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a Breeders' Cup type of day, and that's the good news. Even if the Belmont doesn't shape up well, since now that they've changed it and they run all their big races pretty much on that day, and if not that day, the day before, it makes it to where the Belmont, which obviously, like last year, was the main event. It was a great race, right? But it doesn't have to be. The year I can't think of it. Sir Winston won the race. Those cards, those races before the big one were amazing. They carried it. They had to because the Belmont wasn't that good that year. Tacitus was the favorite in that race. Like, it wasn't a great Belmont. So, but this year we've got a good Belmont and a good card. So it's awesome. And like I said, I'm really pumped to see Rich strike back. I think he's a lot of fun, and I think it makes for a lot of good arguments from people. And we'll see. You're gonna put your money on him and go with him at a short price this time, or are you gonna try to leave him off in the hopes that he doesn't beat you again? So he makes for a real good conversation.
How was Vegas?
Oh, it's great. It was great. Best trip we've ever taken, bar none. Not even close second. It was the best. Every wrestler on the roster stayed where we stayed, and that's what made it awesome. We pretty much hung out with them the whole time, so it was cool. Very cool.
Now, when you say hung out, like, did you guys like talk and like shoot the shit and drink together? Like, what are we talking here?
A few times spoke to them, yes. More gambled with them than anything.
Just like sat at the table with them playing blackjack.
Correct,
and
yeah,
stuff?
and kind of laugh if they hit something and laugh, or whatever. I did speak to a couple of them after the big show and just tell them, hey, you did really well. It was a great job, great match, and that was kind of fun. But the first night we were there, we went down to the lobby. Because there's a convenience store right there by the lobby. You know how it is at Vegas. They got convenience stores right by your elevators, so you don't have to, how it is. Right. You need water usually by the end of the night. So we went to the convenience store. We saw a couple of them, and then we went to the elevators. There's a couple, and then and we realized it's like we don't have to go find these people. They're going to be around, and they were all week. You go to the pool, you'd see 4 or 5 of them. You'd go gamble, see 4 or 5 of them. You go to Starbucks, you'd see them. So I had the final count. We saw 80 different wrestlers through the 5 days we were there.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Did any because I'm sure you were wearing shirts and shit all the whole time. Like, did anybody come up to you and acknowledge what you were there for? Were you one of many people that were there for this, or were you kind of did people not really realize what was going on?
That's the key. So we really blended in. Now, the days of the actual events, we might have a shirt on, but we would wait until later in the day, go up and change. Because our whole goal was, let's try to hang out with them. Let's try to see them. Let's leave them the hell alone. Because there were people that were they were taking selfies. These guys were super nice to everybody. I didn't see one guy be an asshole to a fan all week, which was shocking to me. But anyway, we left them alone. We just let them do their thing. We just tried to, if we ran right into one, we would just be like, hey, how's it going? And I think they kind of, by the end of it, a few of them had to know our faces because we were around them so much, But yeah, no, we totally left them alone. The 2 of the events were in our, so the arena was attached to our casino and hotel. So 2 of the events, people started showing up for those events, but by that time, all the wrestlers were backstage. So no, there weren't a lot of people just hanging around. There were some, but not many. And I think that's kind of what made it cool, is they kind of felt like they could do whatever they wanted, and they weren't really getting bothered unless it was the day of the actual shows that they did.
Nice. And where was it? Where'd you stay?
This was at Mandalay Bay, which another key thing. Mandalay Bay was probably the best one I've ever stayed at. I mean, all of them are okay, but Mandalay Bay was really nice. It's not the best sports book I've ever been to. I see Darren asked the question there. I certainly don't think it was the best, but it did the job. It's not bad. But the casino was really good. The way it was laid out was good. Like I said, it was attached right to one of the buildings that we had 2 shows in, and the rooms were pretty nice. So best sports book I've ever been to, Bally's. I love Bally's Sportsbook. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I haven't been to Bally's in years, but the times I've been there, it kept getting better. That one's hard to match. I thought, what was it? MG? No,
Caesars. The 1 week for the Belmont is Caesars, wasn't it?
Caesars was really good.
Very good.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Did you see Paige up close?
Paige, I did not see. She was only there for one event, and I think they probably kept her away. She's famous outside of it. So,
she can't.
Although I did see a lot of the big stars. That really was the thing. But I don't know. Paige was only there for Sunday, so she may have came in and came out. I don't know if she stayed.
Marla says she recommends the Cosmopolitan in Vegas. That's a good one as well.
Yeah.
Did you have problems? Just because I know, because Vegas is touch and go in terms of how long. Like, was the time frame? Because you were there 7 days. Like, Did you get sick of it at the end, or did you have to some days did you just say, not leaving the hotel room, or if I am, I'm going to the pool, and that's it?
The big key was we had 3 wrestling shows, and they started in the middle of the afternoon because they set them up for Eastern times to start at 7 Eastern. Well, that's 4:00, where we're at.
Yeah,
so that kind of broke up the days. If we didn't have those, I would definitely be ready to leave after 3 or 4 days like normal. So having those 3 shows helped. And then the pool at Mandalay Bay, I mean, everybody's got a nice pool at Vegas, but the Mandalay Bay pool area is ridiculous. I mean, it's got a wave pool, it's got a regular pool, it's got a lazy river, it's got 2 places to eat, girls coming by and giving you drinks all the time. Like that, it was a legit pool. So we were able to kill some time there too. And it was a good thing because I did great at Belmont. I did great on sports. I could not stay away from the blackjack table. And, it would just be, I made a couple $100 on the sports games tonight or today and go over there and lose 150 of it. That's how it was. But yeah, like I said, it was a good thing that we did have some events. It kind of broke up, the trip a little bit.
Right. If you're there, I just, because sometimes we go, it's it's just you're there gambling for one reason. That's it.
Yeah.
And it just gets, gambling and drinking, but having and that's one thing I've always wanted to do. I don't know if people listening have, been to Vegas for different, for shows. I've always wanted to go to shows when you're out there, but it's just you're with a bunch of guys and it's just you know what I mean? The last thing everyone wants to do is go see a show. But I bet having those shows kind of in the middle of all this would help with the monotony of just blackjack, betting on game, pool, drink, repeat.
That was there were 2 big keys: the show for sure, and going with your wife instead of 5 of your friends. It's just such a big difference. And honestly, both are great. I'm not knocking either one, but it was kind of nice to not have that constant feeling like shit the whole time you were there. And that made it easy.
Or the guy being like, "You're not drinking? What are you doing?"
Right. And it's I'm not saying I didn't drink at all the whole time I was there. No, of course not. Yeah, you had some drinks, but you woke up each morning and you didn't feel like shit. And that kind of helps you prolong hey, we could stay for another day and this isn't so bad.
You remembered how much, you remember what you bet the night before, how you did, and how, it was not a blur. I'm sure that's a factor I've never, had been able to not do, right?
At my age now, I think it was really good. Now, if you go in your 20 or, not 20, but in your 20s, late 20s, early 20s, you probably maybe get a little bored. But for a 38-year-old, it's it's okay to go to the pool and then go get a Starbucks and just don't drink until maybe 5 in the afternoon, instead of at 10 in the morning. So that's kind of, yeah. I kind of learned that on this trip.
Well, we missed you. Blinkers off definitely missed you. I got stuck with Magic, and then he left, and then he got stuck with some guy named Nick, and I'm starting to wonder if it's me. Like you left, and then Magic. Anyways, it's good to have you back. Please don't leave.
Thank you. Some guy named Nick. That's a new one. I was gonna join. Honest to God, I was gonna join, but the one downside of Mandalay, the internet is brutal bad. Like entering the picks each morning took like double the time, and that's just data entry. That's just typing in something and hitting save, and it was crazy. So I thought I'm not even gonna attempt this. Yeah, and I tried to get on with you guys with the meeting, and I couldn't get on. Like it kept freezing up, knocking me off. So I was like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, good. It's a good week. That was a good week to go and not worry about it. So
that was the biggest thing. I told Heather, it's like, this is a good week to go. There's not a lot going on.
All right. Good to have you back. And we are going to get to Belmont. That's right. Today's show, we're going to hone in our picks. It's still a week out. Hone in our picks for the 2022 Belmont Stakes and discuss some of the latest updates on these Belmont Stakes Racing Festival contenders. And we're going to do some rapid fire for the greatest stakes action at Belmont Park, Churchill Downs, and Halterman's favorite course, Penn National, including the 400K Penn Mile Stakes. Let's go. Yeah, Annapolis, your boy.
I'm ready.
Back.
I
think I picked him just for you, so you're welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no, we were like 5 minutes for the show, and I feel bad now because I have to look him up because he's a subscriber. Nick
Severs. Yeah,
Severs.
I
knew who he was, but I didn't know. I just saw him on there, and I know he followed us and played in tournament stuff. Anyways, Magic's like, hey, I might have to run out early, but if I do, Nick will finish it up. And I was like, who the hell's Nick? It's like 5 minutes before the show started. I was like, okay. And sure enough, we went too long, and of course we were covering all kinds of shit. And the tournament was happening, and he skipped town, and me and Nick, we brought it home.
Well, thank God Nick was around, or it would just be you.
Well,
that's true. You could have handled it, I think.
I was like, all right, Magic, thanks, buddy.
Maybe we should hire Nick. Does he know how to edit videos?
I know he's more reliable. I know that.
Oh, I'll tweet him.
No, he was good. He did good. His picks did well. I don't think he did too hot in the tournament. But it was fun.
I didn't either. So
I did, but of course didn't win. That was a bummer.
So I was at one of the shows when that was going on, and I saw that you were ahead, and then I looked back like 20 minutes later, and you were behind and couldn't win. So I thought,
I don't know if you saw what happened was with 2 races left, I was in first, and there was the last 3 races of the tournament were at Santa Anita, and then that last race, the second to last race at Santa Anita, the horse I had was, I don't remember what the price was. It was like 4 or 5 to 1, something like that. Got second, but got DQ'd.
Oh.
If the horse, and then my next horse in the last race won at like 5 to 1, and I got second place. If the horse would have stayed up in second and I got the place points, I would have won because I lost by like 60 cents or something. So that was the brutal part. Yeah.
That's gross.
It was one of those days, we all have had those in playing tournaments and stuff, or even handicapping for that matter, where, we have both days. The ones where you play those tournaments and not one of your horses ever feels like they pick up their feet. Well, this day, it felt like every time you had a long shot or anything, they ran. And so you just felt like you were live in all of them. And it was that way. And just that was a bummer part. But yeah, I finished. No, I think I finished third, but I still lost by 60, 80 cents, something like that. But
yeah.
But yeah, it was fun.
Well,
real fun. Yeah, exactly. All right. Let's see here. We're going to do Belmont. If you guys have questions, thoughts, opinions, whatever, we'll get into it. We're just going to go through these. Obviously, this is kind of the list we have as of now. obviously this is going to change here and there as we get closer, but the main contenders are in the race, or should be here. All right. June 11th, Belmont Stakes 154. It's coming up. And, of course, Rich Strike, the Kentucky Derby long shot winner, the 80-1 winner. He's not going to be 80-1 next Saturday, but he's in the race. That's the plan anyways. And he's got to face Mo Donegal. That's kind of the main threat. We, the people, we're going to go through here. We don't obviously know the for sure field, and we don't know all the contenders that may or may not end up running or not running, but we do know the kind of the main chunk of them. And we're going to go through each one of them, talk about them, give us your thoughts, give our thoughts, kind of some long shots that we're looking at. I'll just go through the field as of right now. It's June 2nd, the latest I have on the contenders for the Belmont Stakes. Next Saturday, June 11th, Barber Road. That's your horse. Brigadier, this is new. Brigadier General. Creative Minister, Ethereal Road, Golden Glider, Howling Time, Kucher, Mo Donegal, Nest, the Philly Nest, Rich Strike, Skippy Longstocking, and We the People. So obviously some of those are filler, it seems, but you look at Barber Road. We last saw him at the Kentucky Derby. Creative Minister, last saw him finishing third in the Preakness. Ethereal Road was awesome. And Sir Barton, Mo Donegal, of course, Kentucky Derby, he finished fifth, but he also won the Wood. That beat the Preakness winner early voting. Ness, like I said, got beat by Secret Oath in the Kentucky Oaks. Rich Strike needs no introduction. And then We the People, Skippy Longstock finished fifth in the Preakness, saw him last. And We the People was awesome in the Peter Pan. So, like we said earlier, it's not maybe like a world-class kind of race, but it's not awful. And you do have the Derby winner. I think you said you do have the horse that beat the Preakness winner. So, I mean, it could be worse, right? I think there's some interesting horses that might be prices in here as well.
Yeah, I think it definitely could be worse. And, everybody knows the top three, We the People, Mo Donegal, and of course, Rich Strike. I thought Creative Minister, if you want to talk about one that's kind of interesting, seems to be getting better, did not embarrass himself at all in the Preakness. And he's kind of that outsider that's maybe going to be the 8-1 or more that I'm really looking at again. I looked at him in the Preakness and he came in third and got the job done. I don't see why he can't do it again. He's got pretty good breeding for this race. So Creative Minister, I was happy to see he's showing up here. And he kind of fits what we talk about with McPeak. When he's a double-digit price or around that price, fire. And if he's even money or 2-1, don't. And so he's kind of going to fit that road. I like him a little bit better than like a horse like Ethereal Road or Golden Glider, two horses I think, might take up in that spot of 10, 12, 15-1. I think Skippy Longstocking kind of showed that I don't know if he's ready for the big time. So it feels a lot like the Preakness where you got a big three and then you got to get creative. And who is that horse that's going to come in and get second or third and make this thing pay? Creative Minister, maybe a little, I can't believe I'm saying it, Barber Road, maybe he can get up and get third in this race. He's one that he's not going to stop, and that's what you want for the Belmont.
I think Barber Road is I don't know if I want to call him an upset contender, but he's definitely one because if you go back and watch the Kentucky Derby, I mean him and Mo Donegal kind of had very similar trips in terms of being very wide, and of course we'll always have to ask the question: what happens if one of those horses went inside like Rich Strike and obviously Rich Strike went outside? Would we have seen the same result? Probably not. Obviously Mo Donegal out-finished Barber Road. Barber Road, it seems like a horse that can't quite get the job done, but he's true. He shows up every race more than you can say a lot more than a lot of these horses. So yeah, I think Barber Road is a huge contender to hit the board. I would use him everywhere on the, definitely in the second and third spots. Creative Minister, one. So do you think we're going to get double digits on him? Because I mean, it wasn't like he didn't embarrass. He ran well actually in the Preakness, just right there behind the top two. And also, does it concern you that when you look at this field, he is the only horse that is going to have ran basically the Triple Crown? Now, he didn't run the Derby, so obviously that takes a different measure because the Derby itself is a grueling race. But he did run on the undercard of the Derby. So this is a horse that's going to be running his third race in 5 weeks. Do you take that into consideration?
Yeah, I mean, you have to a little bit. I'm not too worried about it in his situation. But yeah, I mean, that is a thing. And to your first question, do you think you're going to get double digits odds? I think if the filly's in the race, he almost has to be. Because he's not going to get bet past the top 3, right? And I don't think the filly will take less money than him. So I think he's almost going to have to be, just mathematically. Maybe Simon should be the one to answer. He's always, mathematically with the odds and such. But it seems like he's going to be a decent price for sure. Yeah, 3 races, 5 weeks. I mean, he's the only one that did it this year, and he still didn't really do it, but kind of. He ran on the day at least. So I'm not that concerned about it. He's a horse that comes from out of it. Usually those horses can recover a little bit quicker than ones that are just out there and go for broke early. So I'm not overly concerned about that. No.
Yeah, if he's double digits, because you got to think We the People will be obviously a lower price. I'm going to assume I would assume Mo Donegal will go off at like 3 or 4 to 1. Favorite. I think that's where the favorite should be anyways. I don't think Rich Strike will be the favorite.
No.
I mean, he'll probably be like 5 or 6 to 1.
Yeah.
We the People in that range as well. So yeah, if Ness is in the race, obviously she's going to take some money. So yeah, you could be in Ethereal Road, and Creative Minister really could be kind of competing with that, kind of that next place there in terms of the odds. So yeah, I mean, Creative Minister at 10 to 1. He was, of course, the odds were crazy in the Preakness, but he was bet down in the Preakness. Of course, everyone was. It's like the craziest shit ever. But yeah, I mean, I think he did enough to where you're gonna have to make sure you get a price on him, but he also showed that he deserves to be like the 10 to 1 range. I wouldn't want to bet him underneath that. In my McPeak system, you can't.
Right. And, I think the filly is going to get a lot of play, right? But this horse Creative Minister has a faster speed figure than Nest has ever put up, right? So Nest is more of like, whoa, she did that really impressive. She looked awesome. But the speed figure never really comes back that high. So that kind of, to me, is like, well, that's a little bit of a chink in her armor. Maybe I'm not going to play this horse, and maybe Creative Minister is going to be one to take a look at. And Barbara Road, certainly not as flashy as she is, but maybe just a little faster.
If Ness is in the race, I'm going to have a hard time not using her. Like in my top, I don't know about the top spot, but because she, you go back and watch the Kentucky Oaks, and she just kind of keeps coming. She's just that grinder at the end there. She obviously was a lot flashier in that race at Keeneland, the prep race, but when Secret Oath ran huge that day, and she still kind of was coming, just kept coming, and she's a grinder. So I think that Belmont distance, and that's obviously why Todd is thinking that with her. If she is there, you got to think he's not running her to embarrass herself. So if she's there, I think she's a must use to hit the board as well. So if you're keeping track, there's Barbara Road. He makes sense. Ness makes sense. O'Donegal certainly makes sense to win. So where does Rich Strike land?
I have him at 3rd in my top 5 rankings going into this, and things always change once the PPs get in front of you and you see these horses side by side. I have him 3rd right now, and to me, his problem, and I think it was Mark that maybe said this maybe a lot earlier in the show, and it's the same problem with Mo Donegal. It's like, damn, a closer. It's not impossible for a closer to win this, but they usually don't. And so for one of those two to kind of have a better chance in my eyes, they're going to have to sit at least a little closer. I'm not saying on the lead, but maybe mid-pack. And the reason why is the pace is usually pretty slow. Last year it was very fast, but usually it's pretty slow in the Belmont. And you look at this year's Belmont, and We the People kind of looks out by himself, right? So it kind of hurts, Rich Strike as far as, will this set up for him? Maybe he could run really, really well and still lose because the setup isn't going to be quite as good. That's the worry I've got with him. But the positive, dude, is this horse, if he's bred to win any of the three, it's this one, right? This is the one he's bred to win.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, say what you want about the decision by Eric Reed and the connections to bypass the Preakness, but according to him and the quotes that you read, it's like we ran in the Derby to show or maybe to prove to ourselves that we can compete with this bunch. And then our plan was all along the Belmont because, like you said, he's bred to go long, right? Well, what's the bastard do? He goes and wins the Derby, and then that makes the decision of skipping. Like, hey, we never even thought about the Preakness. That changes everything, and so they stuck by it. The plan all along has been the Belmont, win or lose or draw with the Derby. So say what you want, but you're right. The Belmont should be perfect for him. It's just it's hard to get there. It's hard to say you got 80-1, and I say you got 80-1. Whoever got 80-1 on that horse, congratulations. But if you were able to play him at 80-1, now you're going to have to play. And even if he's 8-1, I mean, think of the difference of 80-1 and 8-1, and that's what you're going to have to take here. I don't know.
That's just it. And he's probably going to be more like 4-1 or 5-1. So, that's just you laid it out. And that's the problem, right? But look, if he does win this race, man alive, are we going to have something to talk about? A horse literally maybe could have won the Triple Crown, but he didn't do it because he didn't try. That would be unbelievable. And again, you look at this field. Forget about the Derby. Pretend the Derby didn't happen, and he ran like a good second in the Peter Pan, let's say. You can't tell me this horse wouldn't be taking money, and people wouldn't be talking about him.
I know. And not to mention how – because, like, the bigger picture past this race is the Travers and how many horses have – and connections, I should say. Not the horses aren't exactly talking, but how many connections have you seen – Travers, Zandon, and Rich Strike. They mentioned Rich Strike wanted to go there, and of course Epicenter possibly, and it just keeps coming. These horses, like this could be. You could get to early voting maybe. Like you get to a point where you have the Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont winner, all in the Travers.
If they stay healthy, the Travers will be the race of the year for this division, bar none.
It might be the decider of 3-year-old of the year as well.
That is a huge if. I want to make that very clear. That's a huge if. These horses being healthy next week is an if, let alone a race in August, the last week in August. But if they all get there, the Travers will be the better than the Kentucky Derby. The Travers will be the best race of the year leading up to it, without any doubt. Because like I said, you could have all 3 Triple Crown race winners there. The Haskell winner's probably going to be there. We don't know who that is yet, but he'll be there. Plus whoever develops, later on in the year, there's always one that does that. And then you still got those 2 out west that they got to be better than what they ran in the Derby. Probably one of them's going to be there. So it's going to be better than the Kentucky Derby this year if it all works out and they all stay healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Does anybody have a Bob Baffert time, like a countdown clock in their house or anything that you can let me know? But I don't know when that is. But you got to think like we're gonna see. I mean, like you said, Tabo or Tabo for sure seems like the one that we're gonna see get a reboot here and running one of the like throw those horses in the mix at some point. Yeah, you're right. I think this division is. It's low key impressive, this division, and it didn't seem like it was going to be that way not so long ago.
Well, here's what's happened, in my opinion. You had your horses going into it that you liked, like Zandon, like Epicenter, count the 2 out west, White Barrio, all these horses. And Mo Donegal, some of them ran well, some of them didn't, but still, it's like, okay, they're still good horses. But the winner of the 2 races, Rich Strike, he's not thrown his name out of nowhere. So it's like, wow, we gotta at least talk about him. And then early voting came back and won the Preakness and ran maybe the best race out of anybody yet. So now he's in the mix, and he was not one. Obviously, he wasn't even in the Derby, even though he qualified for it, didn't run in it. So there's horses that have jumped up in these two big races that really weren't on the radar. And by the way, We the People could be the next one. And so then you've got three horses that kind of jumped up and won that weren't considered like top five, but all those other horses are still around that you thought were. And they're all going to reconvene in the summer, and that makes for a really exciting summer.
Yeah. And by the way, this horse, Ethereal Road, he might be in all of them. And listen, you're right, Marla. That's one of the things. I mean, I've seen Ethereal Road several times in person, and he is a big horse. But that day, and I don't know if it was like the camera angle or what, but him, or maybe B-Doc is just super tiny. But dude, it looked like. When Ethereal Road is running by B-Doc, it looked like he could like stop, take a chunk out of B-Doc, take a bite out of him, and then keep going. Like this horse was monstrous compared to B-Doc. I think that added to a lot of the size difference it looked like. But yeah, he is a big horse, and he looks like a good horse. And he's the problem to me is like you want to like this horse, and he seems to make a lot of sense for this race. But we've also seen him run some really not so good races. And that's why Halter and I were both against Ethereal Road in that race, because you thought, well, gosh, I'm going to beat him here. And he looked like a freak. So I don't know.
You and Marlon are totally right. He looked like a Clydesdale coming down there compared to that other horse.
Yeah, right, Jeff? Are we ever going to forgive Ethereal Road? When Ethereal Road scratches, right? Like, he's the reason Rich Strike is even a name right now. Like we wouldn't be talking about Rich Strike ever again, maybe. And because of Ethereal Road scratching out of the Derby, he got in. Of course, the rest is history. So yeah, maybe who's going to be the scratch horse that gets in if Ethereal Road ever's in a race in the future and scratches out, if someone gets in somehow, he's automatically going to be bet down to like 4-1.
Well, I mean, and you talk about Ethereal Road, why he might scratch. I mean, the horse runs every other week. So, honestly, I think that's why he scratched out of the Derby. He just wasn't doing very good because he ran him at Keeneland twice, back-to-back weeks in the Bluegrass and then the Lexington. And then they circle around 3 weeks later, and Lucas is like, hey, he's just not doing very good. Well, shit, I wonder why. You know? And then 2 weeks later, he's like, damn, he's doing a lot better for this Sir Barton. He said before the Sir Barton, he said, oh, I probably screwed up. He's doing fantastic. Yeah, we probably should have put him in the Preakness. Oh, he's probably doing good because he got the wind back underneath him, right? Like he's not dead tired. So we'll see. 3 weeks, shit. That's some time off for Ethereal Road. He may show up and run really well.
Well, we've said this before. I've said a lot about this. It's just this. It's part of the D. Wayne program, and when they're good, they're really good, and when they're not, because that's just how he trains them. And that's a lot of people said that about Secret Oath going into the Oaks, like how they were worried about playing her because of how hard he was pushing her on the track and how tired she looked and just the issues that possibly could come with that. And of course she ran huge, but you got to think she was on the line, man, of just being so tight, but also could fall apart at any second. And I wouldn't say she ran poor in the Preakness, but it obviously caught up to her a little bit. And she just was a little flat late in that race. Certainly didn't have the kick she had in the Oaks. And so that tends to happen with some of his horses. But yeah, when they're good, they're really good.
Yeah. You said it best. And I was happy to see, and I bet everybody's a little bit happy to see Secret Oath won't be racing again until Saratoga. Yeah. I mean, she needed some time for sure.
That's part of the problem when you're I guess not for Ethereal Road's case, but when you're a good horse, if you run.
What about Jeff's plan?
Throw a Mr. Ed mask on Bravazzo and bring him out of. Hey, you know what? His ass would run. He wouldn't win, but he would run.
Just give him 2 weeks. He'll be ready. We'll get him ready. 2 weeks.
Lucas says, "I'll have him ready."
Yeah.
What do you think about is We the People? I know you're probably leaning that direction. You like We the People. I like We the People, but there's the issue of you wish that track would have been a normal track that day because you have because we'd heard that he was supposed to be good. And of course, I don't give a shit what kind of, he was bad in the Arkansas Derby. He just was. We saw him there in live. He was not good. So what happened? Was it the track? Was it the no speed? Is that who he is? So he's dangerous, but you also have to tap the brakes a little bit because you just still don't know quite what he is.
Yeah, he's one of 100 that we heard were good this year, right? We always hear horses are good, but he was backing it up until that Arkansas Derby. I don't have an explanation for what happened. People are pointing to the trip as like, oh, it was a horrible trip. Yeah, but he didn't do anything at all. Yeah. Like if he would have ran fourth, and it's like, okay, but he just kind of quit on him. I don't know. I don't know that he can get 12 furlongs. And I don't know that he can hold off a horse that's really coming after him late. That's the worry. But I think he's got to be in the mix because of the setup. But I'm 50-50 on what to do with him.
His issue to me is going to be I've talked about this a lot with like in the past with different, with like whether it be an epicenter or someone that's on the lead where it's like maybe he runs a really big race and he's able to hold off Mo Donegal or Rich Strike, but then there's the other one, whichever one I didn't mention, like you've got a handful of horses, Barbara Road and Creative Minister and Mo Donegal and Ness will throw her in there and Rich Strike, like they're all going to be taking their shots at the very end of this race when the real running is most important. And sure, can he put away one or two of those? Yeah, probably, maybe if he's good enough, but gosh, you just wonder if like he gets nipped at the wire, just can't quite get the job done because of all these horses coming after him.
Yeah, I mean, I think his best chance, obviously, is to get out to where he doesn't have to take a lot of those horses' best shot until it's too late. Right? That's how a speed horse, generally can win a race. He just gets way away from them, and then here they come to take their shot, and they hit the wire, right? And so, yeah, I mean, if they turn for home and horses are starting to take their shots at him and he's having to fend them off, he is going to get beat late. The biggest thing is this is a massive move up in class. We talked about this Peter Pan on one of our shows, and this is not a good race, right? These horses just aren't very good. Now, we the people definitely proved, oh yeah, there was one that was pretty good, and it was him. But this is a whole different ball game. And it's a whole different distance. And like you said, it's going to be a whole different track. And that's a big one that you asked about. It was a sloppy track. He's got speed. Nobody else in that race really had that kind of speed, and he just got away from him that day. It's possible.
Yeah, it's possible. But yeah, he's intriguing. He's definitely the most intriguing horse in the race. That's like, I don't want to know if I call him a new shooter, but I guess he kind of is. That he's interesting. He's gonna probably be too low of odds in my like he'll be deservingly, I'd say, but in my book, like you're gonna have to suck down a pretty low price on him based off that impressive performance, and it came back like a good number as well. And you're gonna have to do that, and not really knowing how legit that performance was. So,
yep.
But but you have to use it. If you're using a multis, like to me, he's a must use in the multis because how could he not be? He's a win candidate.
If it sets up exactly how it looks right now and he's lone speed, you're taking a risk. You're taking a risk because you don't want to get to that point and get beat by a gate wire horse. You could have easily picked out and knew, yeah, he's on the lead and he's by himself. Right? And the other thing with the multi is what races will be can you afford to do this or that? And that's before we know anything. I totally agree with you. You don't want to get beat gate to wire in the Belmont. You just don't.
Yeah. Speaking of that, the undercard for this thing is going to be nice. I mean, listen, it's just the who's. It's completely loaded. Here, I guess I can throw it up on the screen here. What race are you most looking forward to, undercard?
Oh boy, that's a good question. Mile, I think, obviously is the one that's the answer. The Ogden Phipps is going to be fantastic. The Acorn is going to be fantastic. Those are the three that pop out immediately to me. Let's see, what's the name of the one that Speak of the Devil's in? I can't. Just a Game.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's the fourth one. Yeah. So those are the four that I really am looking forward to on this one.
That one, yeah. Here we go. So there's the Jaipur. You got the Recipe Red, which is a Breeze Cup winner in Bound for Nowhere, Castle Creed, Gear Jockey, some of those. But the Ogden Phipps, Bonnie South, Clariere, Latruska, Malathot, Royal Flag, Search Results, CC's Possible for the race. The Woody Stevens, you get Jack Christopher versus Witt, who looked awesome. Both horses looked awesome last out. Yeah, the Just a Game in Italian, Regal Glory, Speak of the Devil, the Chad Browns, like that's just an insane race alone right there. And like they said, the Met Mile, you get Flightline back. This is super freak Flightline, but he's going to face Speaker's Corner, who's been awesome. Like, to me, the Met Mile is easily the one, I think, undercard wise. Because, Flightline is just, we have no idea how good Flightline really could be. I just remember, I got to keep going back to remembering how good he was when he was running and thinking this is like the next superstar.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen him in so long.
Now he faces Speaker's Corner, who's just looked unbeatable so far this year. I don't know what more you want there. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I wish Life is Good was there. Well, Speaker's Corner for first Flightline is pretty darn good. Bonnie South, Clariere, Latruska, Malathat, Royal Flag, Search Results, and CC. It doesn't get any better than that for the older fillies and mares. Regal Glory versus Speak of the Devil will be insane.
Yeah.
Regal Glory has been fantastic, and Speak of the Devil looked unbeatable last time out. So that is just an insane few races, and that's, like you said, you just mentioned Jack Christopher versus Witt. That's going to be pretty damn good. Witt looked great in the Bayshore. Jack Christopher looked like $1 million in his return.
Especially when you put what their running styles are. One that is going to be out close, and then one's going to be coming off, and you're going to have that. Like, that to me is like that. It's going to be so exciting to see how that race ends.
100%. It's going to be fun. Yeah.
So, I know this. When I saw Speak of the Devil that day, I thought, and I think we all said it, like, I don't know where and care really where he runs her. She's not losing a race this year. But yet now she has to go up against Regal Glory, which we kind of thought this would happen, but it's not going to be easy. And and a lot of questions like, who's better? Well, we're going to find out.
Well, and Regal Glory beat another Chad horse last time at Keeneland that we all thought, oh gosh, this is going to be the next big one. And that horse ran fantastic and got beat by Regal Glory. So now we got another one. It's crazy, man. This is a great, great card. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of Breeders' Cup winners come out of this card.
No doubt about it, man. I cannot wait. Man, cannot wait. It's just, I'm glad we got an update here because it's getting me jacked up for next week. We'll be back obviously next week we'll know the fields. We'll know how this thing is going to unfold a little bit more. So we'll have obviously more analysis, more picks, more information. Go to our YouTube page, obviously YouTube/Racing Dudes for more videos. But yeah, that is the first look at Belmont Stakes 154 and the Belmont Stakes Racing Festival. Man, it's going to be sick, guys.
It's crazy, like, seeing all those and thinking that people commented on Twitter today that it was weak. It's just like, I don't know. I don't know what you want. Like,
Jeff says the real money's in Swedish harness racing. Helen Keller could pick a winning ticket.
Jeff's our best commenter of the night, I think, so far.
Hey, Jeff, you win a prize.
I don't know what that is, the prize, but Jeff's on fire. Jeff, that was the Mr. Ed comment, was Jeff too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Good job.
Yeah, Jeff. It was.
You're the man.
Yep. I'm glad someone's bringing it tonight.
I like this one too. Polly has to find a new pine tree to sleep under at Saratoga. My old one got developed. Oh, Paulie, that's great. Good stuff. Good stuff.
All right, what do you say we do some rapid fire?
Sure.
I would follow that.
We could just read more comments, or we could do rapid fire. Your choice.
We could just sit here and just let Jeff continue to send messages, and we'll just read them on air and see what one we like best. But yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. Yep. We'll get to some. We're gonna do rapid fire. We're gonna do Penn National, Belmont, and Churchill. So Churchill's got a nice card as well on Saturday. That's got not huge races, but they've got some interesting horses. American Revolution makes his return. McCulloch's in there, and a couple. There's a bunch. Pauline's Pearls in one of the races. So there's a lot of undercard there on Churchill Downs. Of course, you have the P9 Ridge at Belmont Park and the Penn Oaks and the Penn Mile. Of course, they have a big card at Penn National on Friday. Tomorrow as well. So let's do it. All right. Time for rapid fire presented by the Inside Track to the 2022 Belmont Stakes Racing Festival Wagering Guide. Go get the all-inclusive wager guide to the 2022 Belmont Stakes Racing Festival on June 11th. 2022 at Belmont Park features in-depth analysis of all 9 stakes, 8 grade 1s on the card, including the $1.5 million Belmont Stakes, which we just talked about, but that is not all. Along with the 9 major stakes races, this wagering guide will also feature race-by-race analysis, betting suggestions, and multi-race plays for the entire Saturday card. We'll also be doing our all-exclusive bankroll wagering article that we do all these big days, only available in this guide. We will be covering all 9 stakes, and of course, 8 of those grade 1s and 3 our Breeders' Cup winning your in. So it's a huge day. Full version is available on or before June 9th. And as a bonus, if you're going to bet this, bet with us with the Racing Dudes at BetPTC. That's betptc.com. Enter promo code DUDES and get a $200 new member bonus right now. BetPTC. Bet the Belmont and all the races with the Racing Dudes at BetPTC. All right, let's kick things off with Penn National. And Halterman, you're excited about it. I know you watch Penn National anyways, but this card in particular, Friday, will kick things off. Race 5, the Penn Oaks. This is Friday's card. 150K fillies, 3-year-olds going 1 mile on the turf. Field of 6 lines up for this one. Chad Brown's bringing a bunch. Morning Mock is, sorry, Hottie, not Morning Mock. That's 3. Hottie versus Customer List. So Hottie's got the class. Customer List is kind of the new shooter, so to speak. Pratt's on one, Irad's on the other. That didn't work so well last week if you were playing at Santa Anita, where Irad schooled Pratt. But maybe he can turn the tables here. Which Chad Brown are you on here?
Revenge this weekend for Flavian. Revenge. No, listen, why I really like this is there are some really nice horses that'll come over here and win these 2 races at Penn. Regal Glory is one of them. Isn't that something? We just kind of talked about how great she's been this year. Well, she won the Penn Oaks the year she was a 3-year-old. So that being said, it's Chad Brown, it's Flavian Pratt, it is Hottie, the 4-horse. I love this horse. If you remember, this horse went into the Breeders' Cup last year, the Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf, juvenile filly and mare turf, off of a maiden special weight win, and that's it. Now, she also crossed the wire first in her debut, but got disqualified, turned around, won next time out very easily, ran in this race and damn near won it. Got beat 3/4 of a length, finished 3rd. This race has come back very, very tough. Horses out of this race have come back to win at an alarming rate. I think this is a perfect spot for Hottie. She was in a stakes last weekend and got scratched out of it to run here. And now I think this is a perfect spot for her going a mile. That last race was 7 furlongs she was in. We're going a mile here. I like it. Like that they scratched out to come here. I like Hottie a lot.
Yeah, I think Hottie makes a lot of sense. And, the fact that I'm with you. I'm on Pratt. I'm back. I'm still on him, but I'm sticking with him after last week, even though he got schooled by Irad. Hopefully I'm not wrong about that. But yeah, you're right. And Pizza Bianca came back and looked really good last out. And obviously that holds up. And like you said, the whole race itself has held up really well, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. So yeah, I think Hottie is a horse. I mean, she's 4-5, so that's a bummer, and especially when you got 5-2 on Customer List. Customer List makes a lot of sense. Well, you kind of, like you said, new shooter, but the issue with her is like I would have liked to have seen like if she was had ran in like a maiden, came back this year, ran an allowance, and then was here. But you haven't seen this horse since September, number 6, customer list. Whereas Hottie, I know you haven't seen her since November, but you also saw her in the Breeders' Cup last time, and she nearly won the race. So to me, there's a difference there. Too big to ignore. I'm with you. I'm a number 4, Hottie. Let's go to the next one, the next race on Friday at Penn National, race 6, the Penn Mile Stakes, grade 2, $400K for 3-year-olds going 1 mile. And this is why they show up. $400K at Penn National for 3-year-olds on the turf going 1 mile. So yeah, they're going to bring it. And Pletcher's brought it with 9-5 favorite Annapolis making his return. Irad jumps aboard, and maybe is this the time now to fade Pratt and get back to Irad, because Fort Washington all the way to the outside is where Pratt's on, and you gotta say, well, it's Shug, it's not Chad, so now you got to play Annapolis, right?
I've been waiting for Annapolis to come back. This is a horse I was probably going to pick at the Breeders' Cup. Who knows the way it turned out. Maybe I wouldn't have. That was a monster that came over here and won, and then they didn't pay us. But anyway, back to Annapolis. This horse I think is very, very good. A one-on debut at Saratoga looked really good, and then came back in the Pilgrim. And it was kind of a weird race for this horse. It wasn't really what this horse wants to do. It was a really short field, but he was still able to come up and get the job done. So I'm excited for Annapolis. Excited to see how this horse moves forward. Pretty good workout. Leading up to this at Belmont on the turf. So I'm excited for Annapolis here. I think he's going to come back and look pretty good.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me here was it's a good spot. For it's like you're not going to get too many $400,000 races to make a return in a 3-year-old debut and it be this soft. I get that Fort Washington and Red Danger are interesting, and surely, but it's like I wanted to pick Fort Washington just because better price, but the last 2, it's like can't win unlisted stakes races at Tampa and Aqueduct, and I get you're getting Pratt, but still, I mean, come on, like it's not like it's like you get the horse like improve 10 links, and by the way, he's got to beat Annapolis. I think wasn't Annapolis like until they decide not to run the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And then, like I said, when Europeans came over, I probably would have went that way. But yes, I liked Annapolis a lot leading up to the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah. So I'm with you. I think Annapolis here makes too much sense, and again, it's a combination for me of being a horse that obviously showed to have a ton of talent last year as a 2-year-old, and also just a very soft spot that I think he can take advantage of in terms of, not being a high level class, and also is a versatile horse where he draws the rail. I don't see that he's going to be in too much trouble. And by the way, that Pilgrim was a good race. Came back to have some good horses in that race as well. So I'm with you. Number 1, Annapolis. You're going to be watching that race so closely. I know.
Oh yeah. I'll I'm getting tongue tied. This Pennine Ridge is a race I love too. I'll explain why.
Well, I'll ask you. Hang on a sec. Okay. I'll ask you. All right. Let's go to Belmont Park on Saturday. Now, Belmont Park on Saturday, race 9, the Pennine Ridge Stakes, grade 2, another turf race for 3-year-olds, 200K, 3-year-olds, about 1.18 miles on the turf. So we're going a little longer here, but again, turf racing, Belmont Park, heading into Saratoga. You're going to see these horses, even the horses we just talked about at Penn National, heading into Saratoga. So you're going to start to see these horses kind of merge together. Field of 7. Oh, I guess one of them will be a main track. Gilded Age is main track only. So field of 6 lines up here, and really it's an interesting field because you have several options. Other than Daunt, who's 15-1, you kind of have options all over the place. Limited Liability at 6-1, Napoleonic War at 3-1, Eliza at 6-1, Emmanuel, my boy. Yeah, we're kind of on. It's not so much my boy anymore, but Emmanuel, yeah, that same Emmanuel who last finished 3rd in the Bluegrass, was on the Derby Trail, switching to turf for Todd Pletcher at 5-2, and then unanimous consent for Chad Brown at 8-5. So you kind of get your options all over the place. And here we are. We've got Pratt, Chad Brown. Are you going that angle again?
I'm going to use the 4, but I am putting the 6 Emmanuel on top. And you might be laughing to yourself thinking that is crazy.
He's lost his mind.
This horse has been facing much better horses than the rest of these have been facing. He's got a much better speed figure than the rest of these have been facing. Listen, this horse is bred to like the turf, and I don't see any other speed in this race whatsoever. I think he's loose on the lead, and you might say, yeah, he was loose on the lead last time and he faded. I think it has to do with the surface. I think he ran so well, they had to give the Kentucky Derby trail a shot. And now that he's back and he's back on the turf, or I shouldn't say back on the turf, but now that they're back to trying, to get him on the turf, I think it's going to make a world of difference. And if I think, that he's going to enjoy the surface, I got to pick him because I think he's going to get loose. I like Emmanuel in this spot.
I will say this. I find it hard to believe, based off everything you said, same reasons, that turning for home, and we've seen it before with Emmanuel, right? Turning for home, he's in the lead. There's just, like you say, there's no pace in the race. And by the way, you're a time form guy, so maybe help me and help others. When you look at this time form, he's a massive standout. Now, you got to remember the 118 he got, which was in the bluegrass, was on the dirt. But when you're talking about any of these others you like, the high pass besides the 118 is a 105. And that's a huge discrepancy there in terms of these kind of stakes races. So you really don't need him even to be as good as he was in the bluegrass by those standards, right?
Exactly. His race in the Florida Derby, which wasn't that great, we didn't think, got a 103, which is competitive with everybody, and just below the 4. That's it in this race. So, yeah, if he runs in between the two, like a 110 time form is going to win this thing. And so if you think he's going to like the turf better than he did the dirt, and he's going to run better on the turf, I don't know how you don't pick him. And that's where I'm at with it. Now, if you're like, listen, they're just trying things, forget this, then I get it. But if you think he's going to take to the turf, he should be awfully, awfully tough to beat in here. Now, obviously, he's got to beat 2 Chad Browns. That's not going to be easy. That's never easy. You would be a fool not to try to at least play one of these with him. But I think Emmanuel makes a ton of sense. And if, like I said, if he's loose on the lead and he turns for home and he's like, hey, this turf isn't so bad, and he keeps running, I don't know. I don't think they're going to be able to catch him in this one. So I'm going to give him a shot. And by the way, this is a really important race. The last 5 winners of this race: Oscar Performance, Catholic Boy, DeMarchier, Decorated Invader, and Sainthood. And last year was off the turf, so that doesn't count too much. But good horses win this race. So whoever comes out of this is probably going to end up having a good year.
And like you say, you've got now you're going to start seeing these horses merge together, and when they get to Saratoga, right, and then really see who's who. But yeah, you're right. And Emmanuel was, when you go back and look at his, like, the bluegrass he was impressive. He just wasn't good. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't good enough. But when you look at his numbers compared to like what he'd been running, he ran a huge race that day. He just clearly, think about it. The horse that beat him, Zandon, probably should have won the Derby, right? Smile Happy ran big. He had finished second to Epsteiner, who also probably should have won the Kentucky Derby. So that, it wasn't like he just got beat by bad horses that day. Like, he tried. And I loved the effort, because what I said after the race is like, well, at least we know what he is, right?
Yeah.
He showed we know what he is now. Like, we no question. So yeah, to round that all together, like, he is a concern. And that's what I told you earlier. I thought, listen, I'm not picking Emmanuel, but he's certainly dangerous, and he certainly could win this race, because he is, I think, the better horse of the bunch. But again, you just don't know. So I am going to play against him, but I'm going to be using him on top with number 4, Napoleonic War. That's my top pick. No shocker, right? Chad Brown, Flavian Pratt. This is a horse that, lost in the Transylvania 2 back. But, go back. Go back and watch this race, the Transylvania. Yeah. It's not a race that Pratt's going to have on his Hall of Fame induction ceremony because my goodness, it was rough.
Yep.
He says got shuffled back. This horse was like at one point in the turn, it was like in maybe third, got shuffled all the way back to last, then had to round out around all of them and came flying late to finish fourth, beating 1.5 lengths. Came back after that race to win at Belmont Park. So to me, Chad Brown entering this horse here gives you a ton of confidence. So I think Pontiac War, for me, out of the Chad Browns, is the one I like. But yeah, I think he's going to have to chase down number 6, Emmanuel. So I like both of those. But on top, number 4, Napoleonic War. Yeah, it's you almost talked me into switching my pick to Emmanuel. So well done.
I don't know. The 4 will probably beat him, right? I mean, the 4 is my second choice and makes a ton of sense, but Emmanuel, shit. I mean, if he likes that turf at all, he should win that race. Of course, on the backside of the bluegrass, I thought, I told you, I said he should win this race. He's cruising. Yeah. It turns out he got beat by really nice horse that day, but there's nobody like that in here, I don't think. So,
well, the good thing about him, is he seems to be a pretty. He kind of shows what he is in a lot of his races, So like he should go to the lead, and there's not a lot of pace presence other than him, seemingly. So it's like you should get what you get out of him, right? And if he can win, then great. But you wouldn't think there's a lot of excuses, like other than the fact that it's his first turf try. If he runs a good race, even if he runs a good race and gets ran down by the 4, great. You'll see. I think you'll see him on turf again.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Well, you look at the pedigree, and it certainly says he has a great chance to like the turf. So,
yep,
we'll see.
All right, let's go to Churchill Downs on Saturday. Race 5, the Regret Stakes, Grade 3, $200K for fillies, 3-year-olds going 1 1/8 miles on the turf. Field of 6 lines up for this one. And how about? I mean, have we mentioned? If we're playing the drinking game, and every time we mention Chad Brown, you were drunk. Because hey, but what would it be? I mean, we've talked all turf races, and it's Chad Brown, and it's a filly on the turf. 7-5, number 3, McCulloch for Chad Brown, and T-Gaff aboard here. Of course, his rider's over at Belmont Park. So T-Gaff gets the mount for McCulloch. Halterman last time out got beat by New Year's Eve in the Edgewood, but here she is bouncing back. Are you going to play her again?
I am. I was really pissed that day because I thought she ran like I thought she would, and I was very high on her, as you remember, and just got beat by a horse I just didn't see New Year's Eve running like that, and I'm not knocking New Year's Eve at all. It was my fault. I just didn't see it happening like that. But I thought McCulloch ran well. She defeated everybody else pretty easily in that race. I think she comes back here. Listen, it's a spot she should win. And I think she will. So McCulloch on top for me.
Yep, I'm with you. She's getting better. Even though she lost that race in the Edgewood, she's getting better with each start. She's improved every race. They ran her at 1 mile and 16th every single time in 3 races. And she continues to run her race pretty much every time and just gets better with each race. And she ran a good race that day in the Edgewood, just got beat. Now they're stretching her out just a bit longer, which should obviously help her even more. So yeah, and then it goes back to another thing, like we talked about earlier. I don't know that I love anything else in here is the bigger other thing too. So she seems to be, for me, it'd be kind of a standout just based off of, hey, she's the class of the race. It also helps too. Last time we saw her ran a big race at Churchill, right? So I think that's a nice sign too. Has a trip over the turf course there. So yeah, I'm with you. Number 3, McCulloch is my top pick as well. Let's see, where are we going? Race 8. Let's go to race 8. There's like I said, there's several stakes races on the card. We're kind of skipping and going through a few of these. The Shawnees, race 7 with Pauline's Pearl versus Crazy Beautiful, Army Wife's in there. But we're going to go race 8, the Arlington. Yeah, that's right. The Arlington Stakes, grade 3. The Arlington ran at Churchill Downs, right? Makes sense. 200K, 4-year-olds and up, going 1 1/16 miles on, guess what? The turf. And this is a wide open field. And here we are. talking about a wide open field, and I just realized it. I think I'm picking the longest shot on the board, but Halterman, I'll get your pick first.
I don't hate it. I'm going to pick the second longest shot on the board. The only difference is that's 4-1 versus 12-1. So it's kind of strange, but I was with you. These horses that are going to be shorter prices, I don't trust them very much. I went with number 2, Floriform on top. The horse 2 back did get beat by Get Smokin' and Cheryl Spite. Now, Cheryl Spite went on to win a grade 1 after that. Get Smokin' went overseas next time out, but that was the first race off of a layoff that day at Tampa Bay for Floriform. So now, he goes next time out to Keeneland. He wins by a half length. This will now be the third race off the layoffs. Got the confidence builder type of win last time out. I kind of like how he's coming into this one, and I think he's got a big shot to get the job done. Hopefully, like that 4-1 price holds, and we get a little bit of a price on him anyway. But I think Floriform is ready to run his best race, and I think this is the class level he needs to be at, and I think this is a really good stepping stone for him today.
Yeah, I definitely thought that horse made a lot of sense, and the biggest thing, and it seems like you're doing the same thing. Only, like you said, that I'm sure the 12-1 will be bet down somewhat with this being such a wide open race, but you have a hard time picking any horse at 3-1 or something like that, 2-1, any 5-2 in a race like this. It just seems so wide open. And not only that, you can't depend on any of them. So you might as well, to me, in my book, you might as well take a shot with a horse that has upside and frankly is going to be the value. And that was for me, number 3, Like the King, sitting at a huge price at 12-1 on the morning line. Gets Leah Sai as a board, and it's interesting because, look at this horse's last 3 races. He's gotten Velasquez, and Pratt. He got Pratt last time out at Keeneland, which was the first start with Mark Casse after formerly being trained by Wesley Ward. And, this is a horse that, won the Jeff Ruby Stakes. If this sounds familiar, won the Jeff Ruby Stakes last year. And then, finished second in the grade 3 Kent, and Saranac finished third, only beaten 2 public sector at Saratoga. Got second in a listed stakes at Keeneland, and then came back in that allowance race, finished 5th, beaten 2.5 with Pratt aboard last time out. But it wasn't the worst race, especially off the comeback race. And now you're going in a race that certainly isn't any tougher than the horse has been running in, and you're getting Louis Size aboard. So I think there's worse you can do here. And it's not like this horse has been awful in any of the races, really, other than, say, the Kentucky Derby, which he finished 12th. So to me, it's like, take the shot with the horse that has upside, has been running okay as of late, and it's the longest shot on the board. So I like number 3 here at a big upset. Number 3, Like the King.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all.
It's just will he win? This is a great tournament kind of horse, because will he win? It's unlikely, right? He's 12-1, but could he win? Yeah. And if he does, it's going to pay. So to me, I'd rather take a shot at 12-1 morning line, granted, versus playing 5-2 on, Field Pass, right? Me, that's not going to do me. I'm not going to feel good about myself with that one.
No.
So might as well take a shot. All right, let's go to race 10, the last one here. The Blame Stakes. This is one I'm most excited for on the weekend. One of them anyways. $200K for 4-year-olds and up, going 1 1/8 miles. Field of 8 lines up for this one. And I'm looking at the horse all the way to the outside, the 8-5 morning line favorite, American Revolution. I've been waiting. You've been waiting for Annapolis to come back. I've been waiting. It's not just like me saying that for the show. I've been waiting for American Revolution to come back because I just was so impressed with him, how he ended last year. The Cigar Mile winner, American Revolution, beat Following Sea that day, beat Plainsman that day, was really, really impressive race. Making his return. We haven't seen him since December 4th that day in the Cigar Mile. Making his return. He's been working a bunch for Todd Pletcher. Flo gets the mount here. Now, I want to ask you about that. Flo gets the mount. Guess who's always ridden American Revolution other than his debut? Luis Saez. Luis Saez is in the race. He's just not on this horse. He's on number 1, Proxy. Talk me through this.
I have no idea.
Super weird, right?
Luis Saez has never been on Proxy ever.
Nope. And it's
So
not,
there's-
and it's Stidham, which I mean, I know they ride for him some, but it's like if it's Luis Saez and Todd Pletcher, I mean, come on.
he's rode for Stidham 20 times in the last year. So like you said, sometimes, sure. There's no reason Saez would have been fired off American Revolution. Like
I
they
haven't seen him since Cigar, right?
They've won. I mean, he rode them every time other than once in the first race. Gaffleon was aboard. I don't get it. He won a 5 out of 6 races. He won a grade 1 last time out, like you just said in the Cigar. I don't know. I don't know. I can tell you this is not enough to swing me towards Proxy. I can totally tell you that. I'm not doing that. I will. The other weird thing about it is, and this isn't really a knock on Florent Geroux as much as he never rides for Todd Pletcher. He's rode for Todd Pletcher 8 times in the last year. Mm-hmm. So like if maybe Gaffleon has a dynamic 1 for Pletcher. So it's odd. I don't get it. It almost makes me want to lean towards picking Scalding because there's really not a lot of question marks on him. And he's won 4 in a row, and he beat Dynamic 1 and Proxy pretty easily last time out in the Ben Ali. But I don't think Scalding is as good as American Revolution. So I'm really at a loss here for what to do.
Well, honestly, I'm with you. I was like, it completely took me out of, I was like, I had to like look at it 4 times. Like, what am I missing? Why? What happened? And I haven't heard anything why this could happen. But I do know this, and as good as a jockey as Luis Saez is, that wasn't why this horse was winning those races. And Flo, maybe isn't Luis Saez, but I think he's a good jockey. And listen, 2 back, you just needed to hold on American Revolution, and 1 back, you kind of just needed to hold on because he just kind of flew by him. And just kind of gutted out that win to beat Following C. So I don't know. It's weird, but he draws outside. He's making a turn, but he draws outside of speed. It's just, I think he's going to sit a good trip, and he kind of has that stalking ability. And as long as Flo can kind of get him in that kind of cruising position, I just don't. I'm with you. I'm totally with you. If there's if there's a horse that can beat him, it will beat him. It's Scalding just because he's the hot horse right now. But ultimately, I just think the 8's better.
Yep.
So he's my pick.
Me too. I'll stick with the 8, and I'll file this under weird shit.
Speaking of,
he has to win American Revolution. I mean, he's much better than these horses.
Well, to that point, what do you think the goal is for American Revolution? Because obviously people need to remember this is a New York bred who ran New York races, and then they tried the Pennsylvania Derby last year, went okay, finished 3rd, but still, was no match for Hot Rod Charlie and Midnight Bourbon that day. Came back in a New York bred race, dominated, and then won the Cigar Mile. So that's a grade 1, obviously not a New York race. So is he a classic kind of horse going long, or is obviously they're going long here, but it's not a grade 1 kind of race? So where do you think the goal is for this horse?
I wonder if the Stephen Foster might be the goal immediately. Prep here at Churchill, then running the Stephen Foster. Overall, it's weird though, right? Because who knows about Life is Good when he comes back or whatever, but the plan for him was like Whitney, like Life is Good's going to the Whitney. Well, you're not going to run him against Life is Good. Maybe the Woodward is a race for American Revolution. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. Maybe the Suburban, if they don't go to the Stephen Foster with this horse, we'll see. I think they're going to try to run him 2 turns in big races. It's just a matter of where they kind of spot him, and that's going to kind of determine his success level, right? I don't know that he's good enough to win a race like the Whitney, but he probably is good enough to win a race like the Woodward.
Do you think if he would have had, and I don't know what the issue was with him, why it's taken him since December to June to come back, but do you think if there would have been some sort of appropriate buildup that he would have potentially showed up in like a Met Mile type race, obviously winning the Cigar Mile last out?
I think so, for sure. I mean, I know when he won the Cigar Mile, I was thinking ahead to this is going to be a really nice 4-year-old, and a race like the Met Mile is where he's going to land. And now, obviously, I did not know he was not going to race until a week before the Met Mile. So, yeah. And you're not going to run first off the layoff against Flight Line and Speaker's Corner. It's just you're not going to do that. So, I like the spot. I think the spot makes sense considering his schedule and where he's at. Yes, though, I definitely thought he would be a Met Mile contender after that win. And who knows, maybe he'll kind of get it cranked back up and have a nice second half of the year. But this is a good place to start. But the Saez jumping off thing is beyond weird.
Well, he's a beyond an interesting prospect as we move forward. But for this race, especially, Hosper and I are both on number 8, American Revolution. Yeah, he's honestly, I kind of just handicapped it real quick, just thinking. Obviously, I like American Revolution. I don't know who can beat him. And then as I dove, it's my first pass, and then I dive in, and I'm like, whoa, hang on, like Luis Saez isn't on him. That's super weird. And I have not heard a thing, and I know you haven't either. Like, I don't know what would have caused this. I don't know.
He's riding for Pletcher earlier in the card too.
Right. I looked at too. I thought, well, maybe something happened, but no. I mean,
he has some weird mounts. Like the Pletcher horse has a big time shot in the 5th. He's on Pauling's Pearl. Obviously, that's a good pickup mount for him in the 7th. And then it kind of gets a little strange. He's on Like the King, which, listen, I'm not saying that horse doesn't have a chance. I think he does, but still, he's on the longest shot on the board. You would not think he would be on that horse. And then where was he? Oh, he's on Long Range Toddy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then
good luck.
Oh, yeah, and then he's on Proxy. And then who's he got in the 11th? He's got Speaking Scout for Grand Moshi. I mean, he rides for him some, but it's odd. It's very odd.
Well, maybe we'll find out, right?
We might.
Let's see. The possibles for the Just a Game. Let's see if I have it in front of me. I don't, but I can tell you real quick.
Speak of the Devil and Regal Glory in Italian and somebody else. Wakanaka. So there's only 4 right now, correct?
Legs Galore is the possible.
Okay.
So, but
it'll get a lot more than 5.
And that's the thing. That's what people on Twitter were bitching about. And it's like, first of all, like you're going to get more than the 4 or whatever are listed in each one. Second of all, like they might be, some of them might be filler, but what more do you need? Like, do you want 10 Speak of the Devils? Sure, but they don't exist. So, like having that matchup and then get the some decent horses that are that are going to run in it. That's all you need.
Mm-hmm. No, it's crazy.
All right, that's all the time we have. Check us out at racenews.com for our free picks and, of course, our premium selections on our products page. Click the Get Racing News premium button at the menu at racenews.com to learn more. Remember to go get your hands on that inside track to the 2022 Belmont Stakes Racing Festival wagering guide. 9 graded stakes, 8 grade 1s, $6 million in purses, 3 Breeders' Cup races, and a partridge in a pear tree. No, I don't know. But still, it's now available for pre-sale at racenews.com. You can get it for free if you are a premium subscriber. And remember, if you're going to be betting these races, why don't you go bet at BetPTC and get a $200 new member bonus. Just enter promo code DUDES. That's right, DUDES. And enter that promo code at BetPTC, and you get $200 cash in your account, and you can bet with us with our picks. And so make sure you go do that. And let's see, what else? Magic Mike Show, what did they do? They did the Churchill. So, yeah, great card for the pick 5. That's what I was thinking when I was looking at that card. I was like, this is a great pick 5 sequence. The Churchill Downs Saturday late pick 5 preview that the Magic Mike guys did. So all the places, we're on Blinker's Office on our podcast page at racedudes.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, our YouTube page, all those places. Go find us. Go find the Magic Mike Show. They did the Saturday late pick 4 at Churchill Downs. Remember, we're on Twitter at @racing_dudes, Instagram and Facebook. You can check out all our picks, all free horse racing picks, all premium horse racing picks. at racingdudes.com. We are your destination site for all things, well, really all things sports picks, I guess, at this point. So
That's right. That's right.
We are in the presence of the number one MLB handicappers. Are you still number one?
I don't know that I'm number one this week. It goes by weeks. So I actually, first time ever, I did pretty good betting baseball at Vegas. So that was fun.
You're like, hey, I know what I'm doing here. So
It was funny because I would bet a game and like I'd be on my phone. It's like the second inning, and Heather'd be like, "Do you want to go watch that game in there? We can." I was like, "Absolutely, do I not ever want to go watch a baseball game? Like I can't stand it, but gotta bet it." Right? So, like,
anytime I've ever in Vegas, it's in the summer, and so you just go and put all your baseball bets in, and then you just go to the pool or whatever you're doing. So like, I'm not gonna fucking watch that. But I'm just gonna check it on my phone and every once in a while and see how I'm doing. But I'm not gonna sit there and watch the game for 4 hours and come to Vegas. Come on,
dude. I went and watched the 9th and the 10th inning of a Cardinals game. I had the Cardinals. I have a tradition. First night, I always put the Cardinals when I'm there, and they won. Thank God. They went into extra innings. And so they start the 10th inning. So we were in the sports book. I said, we'll go watch it. They start the 10th inning, and a guy gets on second base to start the inning. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, did I dream that? Did I miss somebody got a double or something and they're pitch running maybe? So the Cardinals get them out. They go to the bottom of the 10th. The Cardinals have a runner on second base to start the inning. I had no idea that's a rule change in baseball. In extra innings, you start a guy on second base.
Yep. Although I had the same thing happen to me where I was like, "What the hell's that? Like,
what is going on?" Yeah,
I don't necessarily think I like that rule.
Well, no, I mean, people, it's funny. I looked at it. I said, people are worrying about stretching out the Triple Crown 2 weeks, and baseball's over here putting a runner on second base in the 10th inning. This is crazy. I don't hear anybody going nuts over that. I don't know, maybe because I don't follow baseball people, but it's like I never knew this was a thing.
Well, gosh, I don't know either, but you would have to think the baseball purists would be just fucking pissed about that because you talk about changing the game. I mean, and then like if it's like the start of like the 18th inning or something, then you start putting a guy. It's kind of like college football where eventually you change it up or whatever. But no.
It's weird.
Okay, so. It's that time. And this is fine. The only reason I'm going to ask you this is because I actually was wondering this too. Ooh. Magic Carrots wants to know about the MJF promo last night. And let me tell everybody, I don't really know what the words are that Magic Carrots just said, but I do know this. Thanks to Halterman, because we share, we neither one of us care about Twitter to have our own personal accounts, but we obviously have the Racing Dudes account. Well, we follow every damn AEW associated person in the world. And so I get on Twitter and I'm scrolling through and I'm like, especially when there's a big event around that time, I'm like AEW, like where's, horse racing, like what I want to actually look at. So I saw this and I thought, I don't know what this is, but I noticed people were talking about it and it was like a huge deal. So enlighten us.
Okay. So let's start from the beginning. All right. So, okay. MJF, for Jared's sake, I'll explain. And for 34 out of the 35 people still watching, I'll explain, not Magic Carrots. But MJF is the biggest heel or bad guy in wrestling, right? I mean, he's a superstar. So he skips a fan fest on Saturday. He just doesn't show up. They can't get a hold of him. All this stuff is happening. It's like MJF's not here. We don't know where he's at. And then a story comes out that he has booked a plane to fly home. With the pay-per-view being on Sunday, he's flying home on a red-eye Saturday. So it's all speculation all day Sunday. Will he show up? Will he not show up? Well, I'm sitting here going, I know he's still in Vegas. I just saw the bastard like 3 hours ago down in the casino. I know he's here. Like, he may get on that plane, but he went right from what he was doing to get on the plane. Anyway, everybody's like, yeah, I don't know if he's coming. Who knows? He shows up to the pay-per-view. He gets squashed. And he's out. And so what Magic Carrots is talking about, last night, he comes out and he does a promo. He basically buries AEW. He buries all the all the other wrestlers in AEW. He buries the owner. He calls the owner every name in the book. It's basically a dispute that he's not getting paid enough, which is true. And so I think what's happened is a behind the scenes issue, which has probably been worked out by now, has become a storyline in the wrestling. But the promo last night was probably the top wrestling promo we've had since, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's going crazy about it. The whole last 4 or 5 days has just been nothing but MJF gossip. My theory is AEW's got something worked out with him. They knew to feed the wrestling press a story to kind of get them talking and acting like it was, a shoot. It was a real life thing that was happening when really it wasn't. And they knew most of the wrestling media are really horrible, and they knew they could trick them into falling for this. That's my theory on it. But listen, this stuff has been amazing with him. Sunday, they played his music to start the show, and he waited for what seemed like minutes to come out, and the whole building was like, "Oh my God, he's not going to show up. This is crazy. He's going to quit." And then he showed up, and dude, that place went insane. Oh my God, he showed up, and then he just got killed by the guy everybody loves. And so anyway, it's been fun. I don't know what's true and what's not, but it's good television. I'll tell you that.
What's MJF stand for?
Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
So they just call him MJF.
Yeah, I call him MJF.
What's the promo? What do you mean a promo?
Oh, he just got on the mic. A promo just means he got on the microphone last night and was just basically, fuck you to the owner. I hate all the fans. I didn't show up to Fan Fest because you guys are all idiots. I'll sit and
I like this guy.
You would honestly, and Magic and I were talking about this, obviously, off air, and we were like, MJF is the guy that could get Jared and Samich into wrestling. He is incredible at what he does. It's unbelievable. And last night was just, it was awesome television. Whether you like wrestling or not, it was intense, man. And we were just kind of looking at each other he is dropping every cuss word there is on live television right now, right? And I'm not dumb. I know that this was all planned, but at the same time, it's this is wild. They're skirting the lines between reality and fiction here, and it's awesome. And he may very well end up leaving. I think a lot of this is true to some extent, and they're just kind of playing it into a storyline to help it get more steam.
Well, I'll say this: from wrestling part, whatever, but it is a very interesting and well done. If it's done like you're saying it is, it's from a marketing kind of promotion standpoint, it's done fantastically well because I'm just envisioning the reaction of the crowd at this thing, thinking, even though you being there and knowing I saw him, I know he's here, I know this probably a bit, and then the music starts playing, you're like, well, son of a bitch, maybe he's not showing up, and so that in itself is just it kind of keeps it going. So they're doing a good job. You're probably right; they have it all worked out. But it's look, I'm talking about it. People are talking about it, so it's interesting.
It's very interesting. Exactly. You don't really have to like wrestling to find it interesting because here's a guy who is a star, probably one of the top 5 guys in the country. Doesn't matter what, WWE, AEW. This guy's a superstar, one of the best at what he does specifically. And he's not showing up to an event that people have already paid for, right? And he's not showing up to a meet and greet where they had to refund people money or exchange them for another superstar, So it was a fucking nightmare for these people. And I was sitting by total strangers at this event. By the way, largest crowd ever for an AEW show. The show was where the Vegas Knights play, and it was crazy. And the guy sitting next to me. I sat next to him. I don't know who this guy is. He looked at me and goes, "What do you think? Is he going to be here or not?" That's how the buzz was in the crowd. There were 2 girls sitting in front of us, and they were talking about themselves. They're like, "You think MJF's going to be here?" Like, who are they going to put Wardlow up against? I don't think he's coming, And they played it so perfect because when they played the music and he's not coming out, I mean, we've seen this in wrestling back when we were in school. It's like, oh shit, that means they're not here.
Yeah.
And now what are they going to do? And like I said, when he walked down that tunnel, it was just like, I was like, oh my God, he is here, you know? But then it was like, what's he going to do? Is he going to participate? Is he going to go over the plan? Or is he just going to do whatever he wants? So
Yeah.
it was awesome.
Uh-oh. The wife has chimed in. Wow. But people don't realize that Heather is probably a bigger fan than Aaron, his wife.
Yeah.
She says, I don't know how you can call to work when he doesn't show up for fans that paid their hard-earned money. She is pissed.
That's what she said the whole time, too. She was mad. And I was watching this guy a live stream on YouTube at like 11 at night. And she's like, shut. He doesn't know anything. Shut this off. Like, we'll find out tomorrow if he's there. But it doesn't matter if it's a worker, a shooter, whatever. He screwed people out of this money on Saturday. I was like, yeah, you're right. It's terrible. I agree.
I mean, if you would think that like the organization or whatever, just I obviously don't know shit about it, but it's like you would think they wouldn't have been like, okay, here's the plan. We're gonna have him skip because that's got to be a pain in the ass, right?
Yeah.
So like he probably did that on his own, I would guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then now they've, like you said, figured out everything, hopefully, right? And making a bid about it. But I would be shocked if like that was the plan all along.
I think the Fan Fest thing was on him. And because Tony Khan is the owner, he was supposed to have an interview with some guys, the Wrestling Observer, which actually is a reputable place that never, by the way, the real places never were recording. There was a plane ticket and all this stuff. It was all like dirt sheets. But I think they were supposed to have an interview with Tony Khan and he canceled it. And they were like, well, he probably has shit he's dealing with right now. I'd say he skipped it. They worked it out. And now it's, at least for the time being, it's okay. But yeah, I would say that skipping the Fan Fest was definitely, there's something to that. You don't just, because Tony Khan doesn't want to refund all that money to people either.
No.
You know, so.
I mean, it's one thing to like, whatever, like you skip even if it's a pay-per-view, but to skip a thing, something people specifically paid for.
Yeah.
See, I love it. You and Heather have to do a show or something together. I would have liked to have seen, was she wearing a shirt every time too? Like,
yes.
I hope she was wearing a shirt, but was she wearing like a wrestling shirt?
Yes. She homemade some wrestling shirts.
My yeah.
2 out of 3. She homemade a hook.
Did you make signs too? We guys
no, she didn't have the signs. She didn't have the signs. No.
That's hilarious.
No, she homemade 2 shirts, and she had Hook, and she had Pinta, and she had Darby Allin. That was her third. And I had FTR, and of course Danhausen for the pay-per-view. So it was cool because I had Danhausen and she had Hook, and they were in a tag team called Hookhausen, so we were Hookhausen.
Guys, find your own Hookhausen. That's what I would say. That's the moral. Like we all, like, being a single guy, I need to find my Hookhausen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's maybe in a different way, but
yeah.
But the general idea of it, the general idea of it. Find my own Hookhausen. Okay, maybe we should do our own show on a wrestling, or you should, because
Heather wants to do a show, so, and I'm supporting it. So yeah, it's going to happen, I would think.
I know Magic Carrots would be on board with that. So, and yes. I'm sure many others as well.
I think we could get Vinny and Magic Carrots and Dennis right away.
Magic would do it, or he'd be interested. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, see, look at this.
I think, and honestly, and from me, from just the business, like marketing, that whole aspect, I'm like, oh yeah, the husband wife pod talking about, not about the horse racing, but about wrestling,
right?
Like that's a niche on niche, and I'm like, oh yeah, do that. So I think that's, if you're gonna do it, it's got to be with Heather. That's my opinion.
I agree. Yeah, nobody wants to listen to Magic and I, because Heather's opinions are very good. That's the other thing. She's like, I don't know about it. I was like, no, the great thing is, like, it's just opinionated. Like, anybody can like anybody or dislike anybody. You can't, like, it's all opinion. It's just like analyzing a television show, only it's wrestling.
Yeah, I'm not tuning in for you and Magic, but I would tune in for you and Heather.
See, it's happening. It's happening.
Right.
She has a few show ideas already, actually. So, yes,
all right.
We've been thinking about a pod name. Yes. Mm-hmm.
What'd you call it? Hookhausen? No, don't
Hookhausen.
No. That will age out. You can't.
Yeah, definitely going to age out. Hookhausen's going to break up pretty soon. I think Hook is going to squash Danhausen soon. I have a feeling. So,
yeah, everybody listening, if you're listening to this and you're like, this is crazy,
yeah,
whatever, but be thinking of like it's a husband wife, it's a racing dudes, podcast channel, but it's a husband wife, love wrestling. There's got to be something there. I'll be thinking
we'd probably do it on a Wednesday night. No. I think we said Sunday, maybe. I don't know.
Well, what if we did it live during? Well, you guys probably have to pay attention, or like after a show on Wednesday night or something.
There's a lot of competition during that time. Is the only thing. Believe it or not, there are other people that do this.
But not husband wife.
That's true. That is true.
You're the
and not on the Racing Dudes channel, which is gigantic.
Well, that's huge. So
exactly. Yeah.
All right.
We're gonna do it.
Thank you for everybody that listened to this for an hour and 41 minutes. It's great. It's great to have Halterman back, and it's great that everyone tuned in. I'm Jared Welch. Remember, we'll be back next week with all the Belmont coverage you want and more, because we'll know more about the fields. Belmont Stakes next weekend, but this weekend, obviously, tons of racing going on as well. I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. Good luck this weekend.
This has been a presentation of RacingDudes.com, your destination for all things horse racing and sports betting. Whether you want free winners, expert insider picks, up-to-the-minute trackside weather reports, or podcasts and videos for bettors of all skill levels, never make another wager without visiting the Racing Dudes. First,